is now time for Tech Briefs, where I am joined by Ken Yeung, technology editor of Flipboard, to recap some of the big stories in tech, and there has already been a lot to talk about. And let's go ahead and do this right now. So we're going to go ahead and bring Ken on. And I've got to say that with Microsoft Build coming up. It's flawless. All right, Ken, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about what is going on in the world of technology. So we do have coming up with this, just taking a look back here at the week, we've got Microsoft Build, which was the first convention to actually happen, the first big one to happen post start of the pandemic. And so obviously all online. Microsoft's going to have their events online through, I believe, part of 2021. But this could be the template going forward for a lot of different events. And they did have some big announcements that happened. But how did you feel about how they pulled off the event in general?
So I watched a good chunk of day one. So this is a 2-day affair, unlike previous years where when you were in person, it was like 3 days. So this time it was 48 hours. And it wasn't a really structured type of affair, meaning that it wasn't like held between 9 to 5. This was basically a continuous type of thing in terms of sessions, and you could watch it anytime you at your leisure on demand. So I actually really enjoyed from the get-go Satya Nadella's keynote, the Imagine Cup announcement. Their developer keynote was kind of surreal to me in a way, because when they were going through the demos, it was almost like you were part of their Microsoft Teams type of experience where they're having that collaboration, and it's almost like they're preparing to make that announcement, and then it ends, and you're like, wait, is the actual keynote happening, or did I see something that happened behind the scenes? It was really it was entertaining, and I enjoyed that format pretty much, and I think it had a different feeling, a better feeling than when you would typically watch a live stream of a show, of a conference in action with speakers and people are in front of a live audience. Whether or not what companies go for, that'll I think we'll see what happens after we figure out what happens with COVID-19. But let's look at the numbers here. According to Microsoft, they say that more than 100,000 people registered for Build this year, for Microsoft Build this year. And when you put that into perspective, last year 6,000 people actually showed up, right? So that's a big leap forward. And there's that 100,000 is like, at the bare minimum. There could be more that have watched this. There are other developers. There could be Microsoft employees that could be factored into this. So this is a pretty good win for Microsoft. And yeah, they made a lot of announcements. This is definitely more developer focused than previous years. Of course, as we look at the past few years, past few weeks, there's been a lot of Microsoft announcements. They've gotten their consumer products out of the way. We talked, Microsoft Surface, Microsoft earphones and earbuds and everything like that, which you've talked about on Digital Trends Live. And also the GitHub had a bunch of announcements as well in the previous weeks. And so this time, this is talking about, like, look, this is about building a platform within Microsoft. There was no mention of Cortana. There was no mention in terms of Windows 10X or their foldable devices. This is all about how do you streamline building Windows devices? How do you make how do you build things that are going to make more the workplace more collaborative with Microsoft Teams, and with this new they're expanding their fluid framework into Office 365, which is going to make documents and productivity more collaborative. And of course, with Hololens, I mean, that's the kind of they announced that the second generation last year. That's going to be made more available now in more stores and more countries,
which is good.
And it's going to have 5G support as well. So this is phenomenal. And I think the big thing, one of the big things, is this a $1 billion investment that they're making to OpenAI to really create general artificial intelligence. You look at with Cortana, with Google Assistant and Siri and everybody and Alexa. These are like small little tools within like this product. It's a product line within these companies. With Microsoft, it seems like they're kind of just really trying to really develop the foundation of artificial intelligence and kind of really make it
right.
I don't know. It's like it's this holistic thing as opposed to just one-off type of product.
And that's one of those things. Like when you think about it, investing $1 billion into that. I mean, that's huge. Like that's getting them at the forefront of what's going on. And they said that it could be. And that's one of the statistics that I was pretty impressed with was that this could be one of the top 5 fastest supercomputers in the world. So that's huge in its own right of just where this is gonna, where this could go, and them being at the forefront of that. So overall, yeah, I think this convention was honestly pretty cool how they pulled it off, and it'll be interesting to see how some of these other ones get pulled off going forward because you have more on the way. Going from there, let's talk about something else. It was the 11th anniversary this week of Minecraft. Minecraft still getting popular. Some pretty incredible numbers they posted up. 200 million copies sold, 126 million current users of Minecraft, and it's still growing. I think that's one of the biggest things. So it is... it's amazing. It's the most popular game of all time with 200 million copies that have been sold of this thing. And I think with any kind of game like this, to be at 11 years where they do have updates, they do have changes, and there's a big update that's coming up here. I believe next week there's an update that's coming to it, but people still love it. I mean, it's the same basic principle for all of these. And, let me ask you, Ken, have you played Minecraft?
No, I haven't. But it's what you mentioned. Like this is the most popular, like one of the top popular games of all time. It kind of reminds me, like, is this almost like for 11 years? This is kind of really stuck in terms of popularity. Is this almost like the SimCity of our generation? I mean, SimCity kind of came out every year with a new iteration, new edition. But obviously now with everything in the cloud and this MMORPG type of thing, you get these. With Minecraft, this has really kept its I don't know, it's maintained its popularity, its cultural hit, even after getting acquired by Microsoft for 2.5 billion 6 years ago. So it's been kudos to Microsoft for keeping this going, and this, as we talked about in previous weeks.
Yeah.
We've talked about games that are and platforms that have kind of really won or have been very helpful in terms of this pandemic. We talked about Fortnite in terms of the concerts and the musics and the gaming and the socialization. Obviously, Animal Crossing with the gaming, and now with Minecraft with the gaming. But as you mentioned, with the education as well. So it's not just let me go build this world, but this is let me build this world and learn as along the way. And they're making it easier for not only the kids and the gamers to learn, but also to help the teachers get through to their students so that they're not suffering because they're at home, and they're making it easier for parents to kind of manage this situation that everyone's been involuntarily thrown into. So this is kudos to Minecraft for doing this. Again, we'll see what happens with this next edition, and will this how long will Minecraft's reign last? And will it go for another 11 years? But I mean, let's think about it this way: 200 million copies sold. Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold what is it, like 120
I think
million
it's 120
copies?
I'll have to double check. About 120 million, I believe, is what Grand Theft Auto is.
So there's a big
GTA
difference.
5.
But then again, like, what are you learning from GTA 5?
Yeah, I was going to say, the education side of things is a little bit different between the two of those games. But you definitely interesting.
Street rules, and then you get book rules. So, I mean,
There it is. Ken learns from the street. I mean, we know that because I know you play GTA 5. We talked about this. So we got the Minecraft Education Edition, also 50 million downloads. So that's pretty incredible. But yeah, Minecraft right there. And then finally, I know we're running out of time, but one other thing too, just this week, Spotify, which has been making a lot of moves to try to solidify themselves as a go-to source for podcasts, made their biggest move, giving Joe Rogan $100 million to be exclusively on Spotify. That includes the video side of things too. I mean, that is a big bet. Certainly Joe Rogan, one of the most popular podcasts of all time, has hundreds of millions of downloads per month. I think it's 190 million per month, at least according to him. So big. that's certainly a big move. But $100 million to have the exclusive rights to it. I'm wondering if that's going to pay off in subscriptions or how that's going to work out for them. How do you feel?
So this is further proof that Spotify's podcasting game is coming to fruition. We know that they said that they're going to spend up to $500 million in terms of on the podcast industry, and I think this is well over that amount. When you look at how much they spent on Anchor and Gimlet earlier, I believe in 2019, they also bought Bill Simmons' podcast as well. So that was reported for about like 160 million, I believe, give or take 190, I think. And so this is, this adds on. And when you look at it, sure, they get this real captive audience, but in whether that converts into subscriptions, into those that are paying for their $9.99, Spotify's $9.99 plan, or it helps to raise ad revenue for Spotify. I mean, they have a real captive audience right now. And this is going to be an exclusive. So even the past archive stuff from Joe Rogan's podcast will now be on Spotify. The Joe Rogan Experience podcast will no longer be broadcast on YouTube. Everything's going to be exclusive on Spotify, and that's going to happen by the end of this year. So this is no joke that Spotify really wants to take on Apple Podcasts and also Google Play as well. Google Plays Google's version of their podcast stream as well. So. And this reminds me similar of like the content wars when you have with streaming services that we've talked about repetitively on this show. With Apple spending a boatload of money on original content, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, NBC, I don't know how many enter company and the plus sign. That's basically it. So we'll probably start to see that as well. And who knows what big names are going to be snatched up next by Spotify or Apple in terms of this exclusives. And I mean, who could it be?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things too. Is does this start an arms race when it comes to that for other platforms if they start trying to do exclusive things and subscription services? Because I mean, Apple Podcasts, you don't pay to get a podcast off of Apple's platform, but maybe they have something that goes into a premium service too. Who knows? It's definitely going to shake things up. I mean, it's either going to be a huge success for Spotify or they're going to owe, well, either way, they owe Joe Rogan $100 million. So it's a good day for Joe Rogan, that's for sure. But that's what we have for this week. And I want to say for podcasts also, you can listen to Tech Briefs on Spotify as well, because that is a podcast that goes up every single week to keep you up to date on what is going on in the world of technology. And Ken, as always, good to see you, my friend. I will talk to you next week.
Stay safe. See you later.